This time on Captain Castle's Laboratory, we're going to be working on a Lemax tabletop piece called Carpooling. So it's 3 witches on a extra long broom with a black cat on the back. So I have it because it doesn't work like it's supposed to. Let's pull up a chair. So it's on. You can hear it humming, but nothing's moving. So I think the motor's probably gone bad, or we have a broken gear or something. So I'm going to set the witches aside so we don't damage them by accident. And we're going to see what it's going to take to open this thing up. Also, we're going to plug it. So we have a mat on the bottom. And let's see if any part of this mat's separated. And we have some separation right here. I can feel the indentation. I don't know if there's screws or if it's glued. We're going to see if we can get this mat to separate enough to where I can see. There are screw holes, but there's no screws in the screw hole, so I think this one's probably just glued. I'm going to try and get the whole mat peeled back. I'm not going to peel the entire mat off, because doing the thumb feel, I can feel the seam. So it looks like it's just mostly adhered around the edges. Then there's a gap because of the glue joint. And then it's adhered to the base. If we can just get it off the edges, that's all we need to do. You can fast forward through this part. It's probably going to take a minute or two. I'm about 50% of the way. There's a spot right here that's really adhered. So it's going to take just an extra. There we go. Yeah, there's another screw hole with no screw. So the base probably had options where it would have been used on a different piece, or a different generation where they used the screws and then they decided to go to just glue. And right here it is stuck on the actual hot glue. So I'm using a scraper knife to help get underneath it, and then just rolling it when it comes free, and then a scraper knife to get back underneath it where we have heavy adhesion parts. There we go. So she is now free, all but right here. Good. So we do have a hefty amount of glue. There's big gaps right here in the back, as you can probably see. And I'm going to see what happens if we just put a little stress with a screwdriver, see if anything moves. That's good, that moved. Because this glue is yellow. When hot glue gets old, it gets yellow, and it's usually lost its ability to retain because it becomes brittle. And then here's the spot that the glue oozed out and made the mat stick harder. So we're going to get rid of that. There we go. Now, if your hot glue doesn't break free, where it comes out as a hard chunk of glue like that, then you can use some heat. Remember, it's hot glue, so when it gets hot, it gets sticky again. So your time to move or scrape it is limited, because once it starts cooling, it's going to re-adhere. Which is why if it's hot glued together, I try just to pop it off cold, if it gives me the option to, based on its age and stuff. There we go. And we can can just throw away all this old hot glue. And here we go. Now we're in it. There's our drive mechanism with our output shaft. There is a small circuit board right up tucked up on here. We're gonna have to clean all this glue off anyhow to stick the new glue on, so I might as well just do it real quick, especially since they got wires stuck in it right here, and I want to make sure I have the slack. So this is the glue that held the bottom on, but they also glued the motor wires in it, so now I have more slack. Alright, so drive shaft out. So there's the circuit board. You can see it's tucked up underneath and glued in. There's your power port, and there's your off-on switch cable right there. And then the green and white, and the gray and white, and the yellow and white wires are the different lights, because they're different colors, because most likely they have different forward voltages. So let's take a look real quick. I feel a broken gear, so it's stopping, which is an indication of a broken gear. And yep, we have a split gear. And where's the button? So if you don't want to, you don't have to take off the entire mat. You can just peel the corners back. Not all pieces allow you to do that. This one does. There's a few. The Polar one does. There's a couple out there. But so that gear right there is broke. And surprisingly, we don't have any excessive grease in or around the motor area. It's all at the end where the gears are, so that's a plus. Alright, and you can see these are the screw holes I'm talking about. There's 6. And you could technically drill small holes into this resin and screw it in if you really wanted to. But I have a funny feeling this is just a universal base they were using for a few different things, and that's why we have screw holes. So, our gear is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 10 tooth. One of these. Right there. This should slide off relatively easy. It's broke. There's our broken gear. We just need to press on our new one. So, 3 of the gears in here are in the gear kits, or this one's from Skull Crane, which is also in their gear kit, this specific gear. These 2 gears here can be replaced. This one's going to be difficult because it's a proprietary gear with an output shaft that is square. It'll probably be 3D printed because it is a larger gear. The larger it is, the easier it is to print. The smaller it is, the harder it is. That's why I had a hard time getting the Impossible gear made. She is going to require a little bit of persuasion. Just got to find my persuader. So the gears are pressed on, and sometimes you can't push them on easily, because if you could, they'll probably spin on the shaft and kind of defeats the purpose. It's not the persuader I was looking for, but if I do it carefully, I'm going to do it on the table versus the plastic. I'm just going to tap her on down. Happening is it's just pushing the large gear or excuse me, large pulley through. So I need something a little bit better than my mat. And the reason I'm using needle nose pliers is so that the shaft will go between the needle nose part. Sometimes when you do this, the gear does break. It's just nature of the beast. Okay, it should be good. I want to make sure it's not too tight and it still spins. The gear is not split, it's not damaged. Everything looks good. Get some of this excess grease off. There we go. All right, see if it works. Probably thinking, oh, you didn't grease that new gear. Oh no, it's because the gear that spins is covered in grease. It'll transfer it over through the teeth. If you need to re-grease your gearbox, like it's sticky, it's not greasy, it's hard like rock, it's full of dirt and debris, this stuff's still opaque white and it's really greasy. It's a white PTFE grease. Don't use anything else. You can damage the nylon gears. You can get it at a hardware store, or you can get it from Happy Holidays Parts. They sell it in little tubes, which makes it nice and easy. There's that. There's that. All right, let's move that out of the way. So as it spins, looks like, oh, the belt's bad too. So the belt's vulcanized. So we had a broken gear and a bad belt. The belts I do get from Skull Crane, I'll link them below. I get the multi-kits. There you go. So, reassembly is just the reverse. Put it back in, get your glue gun out. I'm going to need some more glue. So, go. I'm going to pause it while I glue it on. I'm sure you don't want to wait for 5 minutes for the glue gun to get hot enough to stick her on. Just make sure that when you assemble it, because I don't believe this shaft fits through. I mean, it could be wrong. Yeah, no. So if you forget to put the shaft in, it will not go through the top, which I would hope not, because then every time you pull the witches out, you can pull the whole shaft out. Anyhow, bear with me for just a moment. I'm going to glue this thing back in, and we'll see what it looks like in low light. So I shall return momentarily. Okay, so bottom's glued back on. There we go. A little backlighting to help the camera. There you go. So the reason there was 3 sets of different color wires, as I was mentioning, got a green light here, orange light here, and 2 UV lights here. They all run at different voltages. So these are going to run at a much higher power because they're UV. The orange and the green are going to run at a lower power, and they're probably about 1/3 of a volt difference in voltage. So that's why you have the different color wires, is because there's different resistors attached to the wires that go to these 3 sets of lights. So there you go. That's how easy it is to open the carpooling tabletop piece from Lemax and get inside to fix it. If you need a motor, it's an SRF 300CA or an RF 300CA. It's a standard hobby motor. If it's a gear, all except for the main drive gear, you can get it in a hobby kit or from Skull Crane. I'll link that stuff below. Belt, I get those from Skull Crane. And that's pretty much it. Anything else breaks, you have to find a donor piece that's maybe got dropped and it's all shattered, or a 3D print. like the shaft that goes from the top of the tree to the bottom of the tree, or the gear with the shaft, the transfer shaft piece built into it. So other than that, it's pretty simple. You don't have to tear the whole bottom out, just tear around the edges. And then I just use a hot glue bead all the way around, held it. Once it was good, I set it down so that the mat would adhere to the outside edges. That way it looks like it would be from the factory. So I'll show you. There you go. So you can see where it didn't quite line up a little bit right there, but that's about it. And right here. And that's because when you open it and do that, it stretches it. So sometimes you'll get a little misshapen this, but just like it did from Lemax. So on some of these, like I said, if you can feel and you get to the first screw hole, if there's no screws, you can usually just follow the glue ring around and you can take the bottom off without doing a whole bunch of damage to the mat if you want to keep the mat. Some of the big houses are that way too. The tabletop pieces are generally the easier ones to get them off without any problems, but sometimes some of the bigger houses have them as well. So other than that, there you go. Thanks for watching. Till the next one.